of these women. It is unbelievable. And as we've stated, even with our mental illness now that's going on in our society, you're making a difference, and we thank you for that. So,
Oh, thank you.
everyone,
I've really enjoyed talking to you.
It's been wonderful. Everyone, go visit bluemonarch.org. You can make a difference. Thank you for joining Behind the Scenes with KJ. I look forward to our next journey together.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved. This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Hey, welcome to Echoes of Impact with Noura. This is your host, Noura Masri. Welcome to the show. On December 8th, 2024, just a few days ago, something amazing happened. I'm sure you must have heard about it if you are following the news or you are on social media. Syria was liberated from the Assad regime, finally, after more than half a decade of dictatorship from the father, then his son. So we, as Syrian, were very happy, and a lot of people who supported the Syrian revolution from the beginning are very happy. You know what? I know a lot of you are questioning, what are you talking about? We don't know about this. We didn't hear about this. I do understand, but I'm here to tell you the story. Being Syrian American, I'm originally from Syria. I was born and raised in Syria. And I just came to the US back in 2000. So Syria is my homeland. That's the city where I was born, Damascus. So I can't just let it go without telling you more about it, without getting you to know what's happening in Syria and to understand, because a lot of mixed information, I'm sure, but it's better to hear it from us Syrians. That's why I also have my amazing Syrian American friend, Suzanne. Suzanne, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Noura. It's amazing to be here in such a different space than we were in last time we were together. So can't wait to talk about it. Thank you for having me on.
It's amazing. And I can't believe it's here. I can't believe there was a victory, a great victory happened, like without us really knowing this is going to happen now this year. What a great day. What a great way to end the year, right?
I know 2024 certainly turned out to be something incredible for us as Syrians, but I think, as we talk more, we'll realize this is a great victory for just humanity in general. So, yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Suzanne, can you give the audience like overview of the history of Syria, like how the Assad regime came into power and why the people revolted against him? Like we can start about the history now and then we can talk.
Sure. And let me, even before going into the history, Noura, let me just say, we just feel elated. That's the word I'm using, elated. I really feel like a child who's just at a beautiful carnival, and I just want to have a good time, and I just want to enjoy it. And the biggest thing is I just want to be with all my Syrian colleagues and friends and family, and in Syria on the ground. I don't think I've ever felt this happy in my life, while also recognizing that this is an incredible moment in our lifetime and that it doesn't come at an easy price, and that a lot is still left to do in terms of getting the country back on track after 54 years of oppression. So thank you so much for allowing us as Syrians to talk about it with your audience.
So, Suzanne, since we're talking about victory, what were you doing when you heard the news?
The movement started during Thanksgiving weekend, right? I was
Mhm.
actually in Boston with some family. We had a little family reunion, and we started hearing what was going on. And it was just like when the revolution started in Syria. You really couldn't tell that it was actually happening. It took you a few hours and days to fathom what was actually going on. And first, watching the opposition forces take um, Hama and Halab and get to Homs, and then finally getting to a place where we just never thought would happen in our lifetime. So it started in Thanksgiving, where I thought I was going to have time off with family, but I was working with our colleagues and watching as we saw everything unravel. And then the day of liberation, we were actually out in a rally here with our community in Southern California. And we were just at our happiest, again, not realizing how fast everything was going to happen. And that night, I just wanted to be with my best friends. We all got together at their parents' home, and we were just watching the news. And together, we just watched it happen. We were crying. I don't think I've ever cried so much. As a matter of fact, I heard my best friend say, I don't think I've ever seen Suzanne cry so much, but you were just letting go of all the pain. And we were saying, if we were feeling this way, what are people on the ground feeling? Like, no one can imagine what that feeling is. So that's where I was.
Absolutely.
Where were you?
Absolutely. I am actually in Chicago. So for everyone to know, like we were planning a rally to support the movement that started on Thanksgiving, like you said. We could not imagine this could be a celebration. We did not imagine this could be a celebration. So in the last couple of days, I just didn't want to stay home, just like you. Want to be with your loved one. I went to my family. We were always all of us watching social media, watching the news, like talking like on our WhatsApp group and everything. So it was just like amazing. I couldn't believe it, and none of us like could believe it. And as soon as it happened, like I kept listening and reading like the Syrian people. Uh, what? يسقط, you can tell in English.
Toppled the Assad regime. Yes.
Yes.
And
So like
seeing
I
that on the news was just incredible.
it's
Yes.
amazing. I can't say it again. Say it again.
I
I want
know.
to hear
I know.
Syria has been liberated. Assad has been, already left Syria. We don't know. At that time, like we did not know where he is. No one cared. But the hearing that he falls, like the regime has been fallen and no longer in Syria, it was just like I didn't cry first, but I was overwhelmed with joy. Like I was just like, oh my God, like hugging everyone, like so mad. And on that Saturday, no, on that day of the celebration, it was the next day we celebrated and like we were hugging each other, especially those who were in the beginning um, supporting the
Revolution. Yeah.
revolution. They actually we were all together, so we were just hugging each other. Like we haven't seen each other for a while sometimes, and we just like were hugging each other. For me, it took me a week until I just cried myself
Yeah.
out, like
Yeah.
at bed, or like watching and crying, watching and crying. It took me a while until I cried, but I've seen everyone crying. It was a lot of emotions, a lot of happiness. And I know like a lot of people wouldn't understand why are we that happy?
Yes.
Why
Yes.
are we
Let's
so
talk a little bit about that.
excited? But we
Yeah.
can tell, we will tell you guys, don't worry.
Yes. Yes. So, I mentioned that this was a liberation from 54 years of oppression. So basically, in 1966, there were several coups where the Assad regime, Hafiz al Assad, the father, basically took over power through a series of coups in Syria. And from then, the regime wanted such a stronghold on the people of Syria because they wanted to make sure they stay in power no matter what. Anytime anyone dissented or anytime there was a group that just was not befitting of the Assad regime fan base, that group was looked upon disfavorably. But, it wasn't just a regular political conversation. It was the way they got rid of these groups was through absolute massacres. And I'll start by talking about the first and foremost 1982 Hama massacre, where the regime really wanted to make sure the groups in Hama who were dissenting learned a lesson, but not just any lesson, one that really just push people down so hard that they would be too afraid to rise again. And so the regime tanks basically surrounded the whole city. It was a 27-day siege that included complete bombardment and murders of innocent people, men, women, and children, just to death, innocent people, just because they did not agree with what the regime was doing and they were dissenting. I remember actually in the 80s, I lived in Kuwait with my parents, and I remember being at an event where the massacre had just taken place. And of course, these things weren't talked about like today on social media, but there were recordings of people telling the stories, and they came on cassette tape. So I remember sitting in a living room, my parents and their friends, and they played this cassette tape, and there was the voice of a man telling the story and just crying and crying as he talked about how the regime entered the cities and killed innocent people. And it was such a haunting voice. But you're young, you don't think about it, you move on. And then you get to a place in your adulthood where you finally understand what's going on, which takes us to how the revolution started.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, like, I didn't know, I grew up in Syria until I was 16. We moved to Saudi Arabia. And I remember when I heard someone like very happy just because at that time, Basil al-Assad was killed in a car accident. She was very happy. And I was like, why is she so happy? Because no one talks to us about this as children. And then she started talking about what happened during 1982 in Hama and how they killed more than 40,000 people in a couple of days. And, and I was like, shocked. I was in shock because as a kid, like, well, no one told me. I didn't know. And Syria, I did, so I was really shocked. So, and, like, people don't know, maybe like a lot of people since the 80s, they couldn't go back to Syria and until the moment because
I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. You never want to be happy for hearing someone died, right? But
yeah,
they've put the people in such a scary and sad and angry space that unfortunately you then want your opponent to have that demise. But basically, while the massacre in 1982 happened, like you said, anyone who dissented at that point was taken to prison, tortured, and that's why people either fled the country and stayed out for years because they knew they would be taken into prison if they went back. We are some of these people because we started working on the revolution. But people were being detained by the regime for years. It's funny, we've always known how bad the regime was, but even
yeah.
now, as
And
we're
Suzanne,
watching,
before you continue, we're going to take a break and come back to just remember what you were going to say. Okay, guys.
I will.
This is your host, Noura Al Masri, and this is Echoes of Impact. With Noura, we'll continue talking about Syria with Suzanne after the break.
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream. But how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name is Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
What if you could make a free phone call and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Right now, you could be paying as high as 20% interest. Your new interest rate could be reduced to as low as 2.48%. You can refinance any existing car loan or leased car and save money every month. Take 5 minutes of your time right now. Make this free phone call and learn how to save hundreds of dollars a year by refinancing your existing car loan.
Usted viene a este país a vivir el sueño americano. Trabaja duro y es el soporte de toda una familia. Pero hay una cosa que no lo deja dormir. No ha hecho su declaración de impuestos en los últimos años y debe mucho dinero al IRS. Usted no ha tenido el tiempo o no entiende las leyes del IRS, pero no puede dejar pasar más tiempo. Usted está poniendo en riesgo a su familia, su cuenta bancaria, su casa, su trabajo y hasta su estatus migratorio. ¿Debe dinero al IRS? ¿Deudas de impuesto comercial o personal? ¿Impuestos de 1099? ¿Congeló el IRS su cuenta? ¿Llamó el IRS a su empleador? ¿Debe $10,000 o más? El IRS tiene programas especiales que pueden reducir sus deudas tributarias y nosotros lo podemos ayudar a llegar a un acuerdo con el gobierno para que pague mucho menos de lo que debe. Además, podemos preparar sus impuestos atrasados y corregir cualquier error en sus declaraciones. Llame ya para hablar con nuestros expertos y reciba nuestra ayuda inmediata.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the CGM Health Hotline now.
Welcome back. This is your host, Noura Masri, and this is Echoes of Impact with Noura. So we were talking about Syria and the Hama massacre, if I'm saying this right. So we were talking about that, and Sudan were about to tell us something. As she said, like, no one are happy for someone death, but when a mom lose their children, lose their loved one, they feel that karma happened. They feel like God did not leave them alone. He is watching and seeing what's happening, and he's not gonna just let their rights go, or their the oppression move away, or the dictator who killed their children just go without any questioning or without paying for what he did. So Suzanne, I hope you didn't forget what you
No, I held on to it for you. No, I was talking about how, while we know how horrible the regime is and what a criminal regime it is, we're still today shocked at some of the stories we're hearing. And while we're elated, there's also a deep source of pain that has come with this elation, because now we're seeing all these detainees come out of Assad's prisons. We're also seeing that many did not come out, which meant many have been killed by the regime and unfortunately won't be reunited with their parents. But I recently heard a story that I'd never heard before, that while we knew when people dissented, they were imprisoned, tortured, and killed eventually in most cases, the regime made it a goal to actually capture someone from each family in Syria, because they wanted each family to understand the severity of what it meant to dissent against the regime, that you just can't say anything. And as a result, no one congregated to talk about politics. No one could dare criticize the regime or anyone that was part of the regime network. People were always afraid. We grew up always hearing the walls have ears. You couldn't say anything in your home, even on your phone. You couldn't talk about it. really, Syrians were in an open prison, basically. They had to watch everything they said and pretend they were okay with everything, because otherwise they knew someone in their family could be taken to prison anytime, and be tortured and killed anytime. But that's when the
Absolutely.
revolution. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, and we carry this with us to wherever we go. Like it's not only in Syria. What if someone heard you and then they reported on you? And like you said, like I might personally know 7 in my family. They were imprisoned, and a lot of them has been disappeared. And I am sure you know about as well. Like you're really on point. Like we're having a lot of every family felt it and say it, because if someone told you about it, oh, maybe they're just not talking about the right thing.
Right.
Maybe they're just making things up. But when you see it in front of you within your family, you're really scared now. So this is why, like, I know some people, they're afraid until now to talk. I
Yeah.
mean, which is weird, but I mean, it's half of more
Because
than
it's
half a
part
century.
of their makeup now. Yeah. That's
Mhm.
how they lived, grew up. So that's all they're used to. They don't know what
Yeah,
it's like to say what's on their mind. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So let's move on to the revolution. Like in 2011, March of 2011, when the revolution started. Like, can you talk about this? And Suzanne, you were involved since the beginning, and you are amazing because you put always Syria first. Like you don't want to do anything other than like caring for the Syrian people and supports the freedom of the Syrian people working here in the US and supporting the people on the ground to get their liberation. So thank you so much. Like as Syrian American, I'm really grateful that I know you as a friend, and I'm really, really happy that you agreed to be with me today to talk about Celebrate Syria.
Nuda, thank you so much. That's so, so sweet coming from you. I mean, you are a colleague in this work, and I really thank God every day that I was surrounded by a network of people who just made it easy to be involved in this work and pulled me in this work. And it was just, it's not something I even had to think about. When you're surrounded by the right people, you're pulled in the right direction. And so thank goodness we started together. Thank goodness we continued. We never gave up. So many people would ask us, why are you still working on Syria? Nothing is ever going to change. Nothing's going to ever happen. We don't believe in advocacy. Well, let me tell you, when you believe in a cause, you do whatever it takes. You don't stop. And thank God we were from the people who never stopped. And we were able to see this day, and knowing that when our people on the ground liberated Syria, we were always there for them, and we never gave up for them. So thank goodness we got here. And it all started in the spring of 2011 when this wave of protests started in the MENA area, started in Tunisia and went through so many countries. In some countries, it worked out to a degree. In others, it was just a terrible outcome. No one ever thought it would happen in Syria. I think Syrians knew just how bad this regime was. They never thought it would happen. But you know what? A few young age children in Daraa went and spray painted a slogan on the wall, Jacques Dour ya Doctor, Bashar al-Assad, Hafez's son, who took control of Syria in 2000, basically continued his dad's direction of horrible criminal regime actions. He was an ophthalmologist, so that's why they wrote, "Doctor, your turn has come. You will also be toppled at some point." Those kids were taken to prison. They were tortured. They were 12 and 13 years old, but tortured, terrible torture ways. We won't even go into the details for the sake of our audience. And the parents went crazy. They went and asked for them. And the regime forces basically said, "You're never going to get your children back. Go make new ones if you want to. And if you can't, we'll come help your wives make new ones." I mean, it was just such a dirty regime. And so the people of Daraa went crazy, and they went out into the streets and they started protesting. And Syria just went up and rose. And in every city, protests went out asking, not even at first for the toppling of the regime. They really just said, "Let us work together. We are your people. Please give us a chance. We want to live a free life." I mean, people were passing out water bottles and roses to the regime forces just to say, "Listen, we're brothers and sisters. Let's work on this together." 2 weeks into these protests, though, which was a beautiful movement, and it brought some hope to everybody in Syria because they felt like, okay, the streets are moving. Unfortunately, 2 weeks into it, the regime shot back with live ammunition, and that's when things started to turn ugly, where the regime started killing the people, and it took 14 years before we could get here from that ugliness.
Yeah, and like it's just it just feels like a long time ago. It feels it's been ages. It's been 14 years. Like my nephew and nieces never visited Syria. They didn't know what Syria is, and like suddenly they discover they have a country now, and they can go to the homeland like of their father and mother, and like they visited. And a lot of children, their age is the age of the revolution, which is an admiration point. I remember like talking about we couldn't imagine this could happen in Syria. When we were celebrating Egypt here in Chicago, the Egyptian Council, we were holding a sign says Happy Valentine Egypt, and me and my Syrian friends looked at each other like, you know, like we didn't say anything, but we could feel it. Like, could this happen in Syria? And one of the guys was like, Syria is next, and we were like, maybe not. Like we didn't say anything. We did not expect this to happen at all, and then it happened, and that was a great moment. And a lot of Syrians changed their direction. You were not in this work before, Suzanne, and you were dragged into this work.
Yeah, truly. I was not. I mean, I was always an activist for Palestine. I loved going to Syria. I never actually lived in Syria. I was born in the US. I lived in the Middle East, but never in Syria. But, you know, when I was in college age, I would go every summer and spend the full summer, and it just felt like home. I mean, I went and did everything Syrians do every day. I lived the Syrian life, and it just really felt like home. But I was never into the politics part of it. And even when people spoke of what the regime does, I thought, no way someone could be so cruel. These people are overreacting. And I just was so oblivious to it. I was active on Palestine, and then the spring started happening, and I really started paying attention. And then there was the first rally here in Southern California, actually by the Syrian American Council. And I went to it. And that's when I slowly found myself getting into it. And I was always in corporate retail. And then I really found myself looking at the news more than paying attention to my work. So I decided to quit and volunteer. And somehow I ended up here. And I'm just, again, so glad that I did to watch all of this happen and be a part of it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's actually affected how the people, the children of the Syrian American also who were just going to college, they did study international law and a lot of related things and policy, so they can help Syria one day, which is like really, it did affect every single Syrian because they see the suffering of their country, of their parents. So yeah, I'm glad we have a freedom here. We can talk about it. We can help. We can support the people on the ground. We can be their voice. So thank you, Suzanne. We're gonna come back to you after the break. Guys, this is Echoes of Impact with Noura. We'll be right back.
If you turned 65 recently like me, it's important you find a Medicare Advantage plan that gives you the coverage you're looking for. But finding one can be difficult. The best thing I did, and I suggest you do the same, is call a licensed insurance agent and let them walk you through your Medicare Advantage plan options. There are so many benefits you have access to, so make the call now and let the representatives explain everything to you. Our licensed insurance agents can offer you a variety of Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, the call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation to enroll. We're here to make it easy for you to select a Medicare Advantage plan that may work for your needs. Finding a Medicare Advantage plan can be easy if you do what I did. Make a quick call right now to learn more. Thank you. Call 800 749 7781. That's 800 749 7781. Call now.
Investing in real estate doesn't have to be a pipe dream. But how do you find, analyze, renovate, finance investment properties without getting ripped off? My name's Andrew Glisson. In 4 short years, me and my team built a portfolio of 200 rental properties in multiple cities as a hobby while working full-time. We took all of that experience and built a mentorship program called the Victory Strategy to unlock every step of investing in real estate. If that sounds like the opportunity you've been waiting for, look us up at thevictorystrategy.com.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99 and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Well, here's a great idea. Donate your car now to help local veterans in your area. Yes, just make one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program. Within a few days, we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate any car in any condition. We'll use our vast network to sell it. The proceeds raised go to help local veterans and their families. And you get a tax deduction. And all you need to do is make this free call. Clean your yard up, get rid of an old car, and help the vets. We make it easy. Make this free call now. Book your fast and easy pickup. Call the Veteran Car Donation Program now.
Welcome back. This is your host, Noura Al-Masri, and this is Echoes of Impact with Noura. We're back to talk about Syria. I'm here with my friend Suzanne. We spoke about the history of Syria, why people revolted against the regime, and now we are going to continue to talk about we're just going to give you some pictures of how brutal this regime is. So Suzanne mentioned that a lot of people disappeared in the prisons and and a lot of them, they're never going to be reunited because they were tortured, killed. So Suzanne, can you talk to our audience about what's about this imprisoning Said Naya, and a lot of people don't know what Said Naya is. So yeah, can you give him an overview?
Sure. So, I mentioned earlier how we're in this elated state. We are so happy. We're so excited. There are parties and gatherings and singing and dancing and people congratulating and passing of sweets, etc., which is what we do when we celebrate anything. There's another coin, another side to that coin right now, though, is as we've watched the detainees who were wrongfully imprisoned, political prisoners, come out of these prisons, it has been a very emotional and difficult and painful time for people. The families that are trying to get reunited with their loved ones, but even all of us in the diaspora just watching all of this. And I also mentioned earlier, while we know the regime is horrible, just watching it all unfold, it's like reliving everything we know and realizing it's actually much worse than we thought. So there are people who are finding their loved ones. There are people who are actually finding loved ones they thought were dead. They actually received word from the regime that their loved ones died, yet they found them. Small percentage, but it's happening. And then there are those who just still have no idea where anyone is, because we're finding that many people have been killed. The number 100,000 is really all over social media today, but the numbers are crazy. No one will ever know how many. And the other thing we're finding out that's really terrible is that there were so many prisons that we weren't aware of. Buildings that were thought to be a school were actually a prison. Underground prisons, we knew there were underground prisons, but we didn't know just how many. There are haunting stories of, I would always people say, look, there are prisoners underneath the ground. You're walking around and they're underneath you and they can hear you. They can hear the cars above them going through. But now we're hearing stories of people in school hearing screams from underground and not saying anything about it because they didn't want anyone to think they're crazy, or they didn't want to be, heard by the regime. So it's like people were being tortured in the walls underneath schools. I mean, just sad and terrible and haunting stories, actually. One of these prisons, a notorious prison known as Sudnaya prison. Sudnaya is a city in the outskirts of the capital, Damascus. Basically a huge desert with a huge building with 3 separate sides to it, was known as the most notorious prison in Syria. And it was known to have something called the Red Dungeons. That's where they sent everyone off to die. Recently, the opposition forces, a lot of civil society organizations were able to go in and to start to uncover, first release the detainees, then uncover what's going on, look for the missing. And so much has been discovered. We've always known there are torture chambers, etc., but even to the point of finding a torture machine where they put the bodies into it, sometimes alive, sometimes dead, and they would crush the body just to, make more room for more dead bodies, and just really, really sad stories. It's even very difficult to talk about it. But even this morning, they are discovering mass graves where people were just thrown into these mass graves, not given a chance for their parents to bury them correctly, to, honor them in the right way. Because again, to the regime, Syrians were nothing but, just nothing. They meant nothing, basically, and they were treated in such a way. So watching these stories come out has been really painful to everybody. So we recognize that as we celebrate, there's also a lot that needs to happen to really bring back those folks, at least in some sort of honorable way, remember their memories. But still, it's so it's such a still moving process right now. It's still looking for people. It's still finding names, paperwork, any evidence, trying to hold on, watch for that evidence. A lot of the experts are saying, please, let's make sure we're doing this in the right way so that we don't lose any evidence, because in the end, the regime has to be held accountable, and all of this is evidence. So it's a two-parter. It's finding out a last word about where the person happens to be. Are they dead? Are they somewhere? And also preserving all the documentation for accountability purposes. So it's and something that'll take a while. It's 54 years worth of this kind of brutal action. So cleaning it up is going to take a long, long time.
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking to see the family don't know, like, if their son or daughter are alive or not. I know, like, some people, they don't want to believe that they're not going to find their son or daughter anymore. They just, like, no, like, maybe this guy looks like him. Maybe this this woman, like, I know a lot of people, like, looking for children. I know, like, one of the detainees, like, she was taken along with her 6 children, Rasha Abbasi, I think. And they're looking for, she disappeared. They don't know anything about her, but they heard that there is maybe something, like, maybe they're taking these kids to an orphanage, and they tell them they don't know their parents technically. Like, did you hear anything about that? Like, is it true, or there's just people talking about this?
So we don't know. So Dr. Rana Abbasi was actually a professor who was a top chess player, just this amazing woman. She had, I think, 6 children, and her children and her husband were all taken one night. And just now we're starting to hear from her family what exactly their demise might have been. There's been so many different details. I really can't speak to something specific because I don't know if something was fully 100% corroborated yet. And that's where I think people are asking folks to just calm down, wait to hear absolute documented news so that, everything reported is correct, etc. But yeah, I mean, this is one family of so many families, so many stories like that. So yeah, we don't know. The kids could be anywhere. They could be dead. They could be at an orphanage. We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people are talking like without really confirming. This is why like I wanted to ask you because I just saw things on social media, but I didn't know like if this was confirmed or not. A lot of unknown. Like and like you said, like it's gonna take a while. It's not going to be like one day, just like it's gonna all happen. So Suzanne, I want to move into Ahmed al-Shara, the guy who went in and liberated the cities and ended up in Damascus. So a lot of talks about him, like him being as, Jolani in the beginning, and a lot of these talks and people like Syrians, like for us Syrians, we see those are the Syrians who were kicked out of their country and be forced to be refugees. They came back and fought to get their freedom because everyone else forgot about them. So can you tell us more about Ahmed al-Shara?
Sure. Ahmed al-Shara, so he was one of the leaders in the groups of the opposition forces that all went out and liberated all of the cities in Syria and eventually all of Syria. This time, anytime you have liberation of an oppression that took so many years, what comes next is really, you have a lot of unknowns, you have a lot of questions, you have a lot of hope, you have a lot of fears. It's really a little bit all over the place because you've had chaos in this country for so many years. And now suddenly you have to bring it all back and reel it all in. And you need the support of the people in Syria. You need the support of the international community. The international community is going to take its time to understand what's happening. And of course, so many dynamics and so many politics, which we're all, tuned to. So his background is he was this regular man in Syria who then went and fought in Iraq and came back and, was a little bit on the extreme side or, he does have the Islamist connotation tied to him, which scares a lot of people. But I think the ask right now is that everybody really just watch the actions and watch how everything is moving forward and really make determinations based on actions. And that would be true of anybody that comes in and takes leadership right now. And this leadership is transitional only through March, is what we're being told right now. So whether it's someone who's Islamist or whether it's someone who's secular or moderate, any one of them is going to get a lot of critique. Any one of them is going to make a lot of mistakes. And any one of them is going to make some great moves that are wonderful. So far, depending on who you talk to, in general, we feel things are positive. There are some things coming out that are a little bit concerning, but again, we really need to watch each step. And I think we really need to watch experts that are on the ground working directly with the leadership for us to really get the assessment from them before we make our own assessments. We're all very active, we're emotional, we're tired, but we really need to count on the folks on the ground who are watching everything happening, tell us truly how everything's happening. I think we all need to make a very educated decision on what we're feeling, what we're seeing. The thing is, from a personal point of view, I will tell you, we all fought for freedom for so long. None of us are going to really let go of anything. I mean, we're going to keep going until we feel we have a place where we have leadership that has come to us through fair and free elections, which is the direction that things are moving in now. No elections have been set so far, but we're talking about this transitional government, and then hopefully something would come of that where all Syrians can participate in elections and see what happens. And with all of that, here's what I always tell people: look, we will.
Suzanne, I'll let you continue after the break.
Sure.
I'm so sorry, I really want to hear what
No,
you
it's okay. I get so passionate about this. I don't stop. I've never talked so much.
I want to hear also. So guys, we're going to come back after the break, so wait for us.
Sounds good.
How would you like to go on a 5-star vacation for just $99? We're talking about the quality of a Westgate resort for $99. Not for one night, but for 3 fantastic nights at one of their luxurious destinations across the United States. And you'll even get a free $100 Visa gift card just for making a reservation. We've got some of the choicest destinations that you'll love in the United States that you can choose from for just $99 for a 3-night stay. Take your family, take a special loved one, but get away. Go on vacation with Westgate Resorts. Call now to make a reservation for just $99 and you get a free $100 Visa gift card. Call Westgate right now and book your vacation. Here's the number.
Call 877-930-3491. That's 877-930-3491. Again, 877-930-3491.
¿Tiene un carro, camioneta o SUV viejo en su casa? Aunque no funcione y piense que es chatarra, usted puede llamar al número en pantalla y donarlo a Susan G. Komen para ayudar a salvar una vida. Nuestro personal calificado va hasta su domicilio a recogerlo de forma totalmente gratis. La donación de su automóvil, camioneta o SUV viejo ayuda a apoyar a las personas afectadas por el cáncer de mama, así como también al trabajo vital de Komen en investigación, atención al paciente y educación. Necesitamos su ayuda. Tal vez considere que su auto viejo es chatarra o que no vale nada, pero ese auto no deseado es importante para que Susan G. Komen continúe ayudando a las personas con cáncer de mama. Llame al número en pantalla hoy. Iremos a recoger su auto rápidamente. También recibirá una deducción de impuestos por su donación caritativa. Ayúdenos a ayudar. Llame ya.
Do you have diabetes? If you have insurance, you may qualify for a new continuous glucose monitor. With a CGM, you can continuously track your levels and trends, spend more time in range, significantly lower your A1C, and share important data with loved ones and caregivers. Most importantly, a CGM eliminates the one thing most people with diabetes hate: painful finger sticks. Take charge of your health. Order your new continuous glucose monitor today. If you use insulin and have seen your diabetes care provider within the last 6 months, you may qualify for a CGM today. We'll do all the insurance paperwork and deliver your new CGM at little or no out-of-pocket to you. Medicare and most insurances cover continuous glucose monitors, so don't wait. Have your insurance handy and call the CGM Health Hotline now.
Welcome back. This is your host, Noura Al-Masri, and this is Echoes of Impact with Noura. Let's continue with you, Suzanne. I don't want to waste time.
For sure. You know, we were saying that there are lots of unknowns. There will be some chaos. There will be some roughness. Things are not easy on the ground right now at all. But I want us to remember that we've always, when we advocated with the American government, our government here, when we advocated with diaspora governments, etc., we've always said, look, please go to the root cause. Don't fix the symptoms. Go to the root cause. Look at how we can hold the Assad regime accountable. And now that has happened. The root has been removed. But whenever you remove the root of something, you're going to have some symptoms left over, some of them more severe than others. And sometimes it'll take years to get something fixed. And in this case, it will take that long. So it won't be an easy road, Noura. But nonetheless, we started the road. We got to our first goal. Now we have to work on the next goals. There are lots of civil society organizations on the ground working right now together to hopefully take us into the next frontier. There are also lots of difficulties and challenges that we will have to overcome. I'm kind of oversimplifying here, but sometimes you just can't complicate too much either. And so, yeah, the work starts now, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I want to reiterate what you said also, like, like we've been waiting for this moment for ages, not for generations, I would say, for generations. I've seen pictures or videos of like old men and women, when they told them, they're very old, like to see what's going on in social media. When they told them their Assad has left and the regime has fallen, we toppled the regime, they just cried. They just broke down crying. And that tells you the story, because I remember I see my grandpa's picture before the Assad regime. I thought that was in Europe. And my mom told me, no, this is in Syria. This is how Syria was. So we are hopeful to see that Syria again. And my point of view of Ahmed al-Sharia, like, look how people came, like, get into Damascus without bloodshed. Like, they saved the blood of their own people, because these are our people. They care about the country, and we're not gonna let anyone be a dictator again. Like, Syrian people on the ground, they're not going to let it go here, whatever. Like we are Syrians now all around the world. Like, we're everywhere. So we're not gonna let it happen. Like, a lot of great experienced people, a lot of people who love the country, who really paid a heavy price, an expensive price to let anything happen. And so far it's been good. I think, like, what happened, like, we could not imagine this scenario. It's so much better than what we imagined. I remember, like, when we were talking in the beginning of the revolution, we were talking about, like, the protest on the street on all of this. I heard it from a lot of our parents, and our parents' age, like, the blood is going to be until the knees if something happens in Syria.
Yeah.
And yeah, Assad did that, but when these people, like, the free Syrians, when they entered Damascus, when they entered every city in Syria, they did not allow that to happen, and they were clearly saying, just put your weapon down and say, like, you're with us and you'll be safe. And that's what happened. So I just want people to understand, like, what's going on, because we are following this closely and we understand it. But for a lot of people who are not Syrian, they don't really understand this. So you heard from both of us now, like, totally different people. Like, and so yeah, Suzanne, like, and I wanna get back to last Friday, the first Friday after the liberation. So as we're recording this now, like, it was the last Friday. So we saw a lot of people protesting, not protesting anymore, like,
Rallying. Yeah, rallying. They were rallying. I know. I made the same word mistake. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, it was actually pretty incredible to watch. So the first Friday was important to note because when the protests back in 2011 started, they did start on Fridays. You know, in Syria, you couldn't get together and congregate, right? It wasn't allowed because the regime was afraid you were organizing something. But people could congregate on during the Friday prayer when, you know, that's the holy day of the Muslim community in Syria. So they were in mosques, they were praying. So the protests actually started out of these mosques. And so it was always on a Friday. There was a theme every Friday, and they went out and, you know, safety in numbers, it was big numbers. So now, this first Friday after the liberation was just an important notation for everybody in the country. And Noura, I know you saw it. I wish our whole audience can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, especially on news channels where they were showing several cities at once, you could not fit one additional person in the streets of Syria. All the major cities, the cities that everyone thought were supporters of the Assad regime, they were also fed up with him and saw the criminality that came out of that regime. They were in the streets, people with their flags, the new flag that was the revolution flag, that's now our country's flag that you're wearing. They're singing, they're dancing, they're hugging, they're sharing sweets, they're celebrating. They were reborn, and you could hear them talk about how for the first time they feel like they are actual human beings, actual citizens of a country that respects them now. Can you imagine? I mean, some people were born into the suppression and now they suddenly feel free in their own country. It was so amazing to watch. It was so amazing to just feel what they're feeling. I wished, I was so envious I wasn't there.
Me too.
I know, right? I felt like I actually felt pained. I'm like, why didn't I think to go be there? But honestly, now I feel like some of us are places here now to really get the community rallied against all the new advocacy we have to do. But I was in pain for not being with them and celebrating with them. I mean, it was just so amazing to see. I don't think I've ever felt like this ever before.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, like you said, like there's not more happiness because this is something we don't witness often, right? In your
Yeah.
lifetime, you might witness it or not, and
No,
we're
I
lucky to
say
witness
this
it
all
in
the
our
time.
lifetime.
I'm sorry, I know I interrupted you, but you and I are thinking the same exact thing. Like we worked for it, we believed in it, we knew it would happen. I think towards the end of our work, we didn't think we were going to see it in our lifetime, and so the first night, of the liberation, I had a bit of a panic attack when I was ready to go to sleep. I'm like, okay, I have to sleep for a couple hours. I really panicked because I thought, what if I wake up and it was just a dream? I was so afraid of that. But yeah, you're right. I don't think we've ever felt this feeling before, so it's amazing.
Yeah, like how many people live for their country to be liberated, right? We
Yes.
witnessed history, and because we worked on it, because we were praying for it, because we were supporting the people, it feels, and like you said, like we didn't, like, you know what? Couple of days before this all happened, like my kids were telling, like, are we gonna ever go back to Syria? I told them maybe you, but I don't think I would ever go in my lifetime. But I hope at least you will see it in your lifetime, because when they were children, I was taking them to all these protests, like helping me with the nonprofit work to support Syria. So they lived it. Like even though they've been only like a couple of times to Syria, they lived it. So I felt this is what we're talking. It's not gonna happen in our lifetime, but I hope like it's gonna happen in your lifetime. And for it to happen like very fast after
Yeah.
that, like
Yeah.
I'm still and not believing this. Like you said, like I hope it's not a dream, and it's not. It's a great dream. It's the
Yes.
feeling like there's nothing in the world can make you feel this way.
Yes.
Never.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. It's amazing. It's
It's
amazing.
And you mentioned something, Suzanne, like we didn't get a chance to talk about like how this is affecting the entire world, like for the people of Syria to see the freedom.
I mean, now it feels possible. We rallied for Syria all the 14 years, right? But we also did it for Palestine. We did it for Egypt. We did it for Tunisia, for Yemen. Now there's like a possibility. Like people actually believe that, oh gosh, if you actually do advocacy, maybe you could get somewhere. Um, you know, if Syria was liberated, maybe Palestine can be liberated. Maybe all these other countries in the MENA area can be liberated. Justice can be brought everywhere else. I mean, we talk about the MENA here because Syria is within that part, but there are so many countries in the world where there is injustice. So it's like if it happens in one place, it could happen somewhere else, which is also, it scares some of these dictators around us now that wow, the people rose up
Absolutely.
and they did topple the regime. So those are some of the challenges we have to face. But yeah, dreams can come true, justice can come true. So you have to keep working at it. You have to believe and you have to continue all the way to the end. And it's our responsibility.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's your next project in Syria?
Woo! I will tell you, I do, want to go back soon, of course. And like I said, first, I think we have for some of us, there are some talents out there that are in Syria now. They need to be part of the work that needs to happen. For some of us, we need to be with the community, organizing, mobilizing, because now we shift to a whole new life. Thank goodness from a foundation where there's no more killing and prisoners, etc. But now we have to rebuild a country and rebuild systems, and we have to connect ourselves here in the US with our people in Syria. So there's so much work and people are ready to work. So we need to organize them, galvanize them, organize them, mobilize them. That's really the focus. I will tell you this though, and I hope it goes the way I'm hoping. I mean, the way I'm planning. I do want to go back soon. While I'm from Damascus, of course, all our work in the end and the activists we've forged friendships with are in Idlib and other areas surrounding. So I made a promise to myself that I would go, but through Idlib first. And I would love to go in the same steps that the opposition forces took to liberate each city and then end up in Damascus, because that's hopefully my way of honoring them for what they did for our people.
Take me with you.
Khalas, a delegation, yalla.
Yalla. I am ready. Yeah, I can't wait like to see what we can do all to support. Like we're all ready. Like we are happy and ready and optimistic, and now we have hope. And like you said, like we can go to Syria, we can do these conventions in Syria. We
Absolutely.
can visit every city in Syria because we don't know our country. Like I noticed, like we didn't go to many places in Syria. We didn't go to many villages, like for like those area where the revolution made history, like Kafranbil, a lot of these places.
We were taught to be separated and apart, and they didn't want us to get to know each other. But now we do, and we will go visit and make plans. And yes, inshallah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Suzanne. Thank you for being
you.
here with me, celebrating Syria, celebrating you.
I know. How fun is this, Noura? Thank you so much. Thank you. Always so proud of you, Allah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys. I hope you learned something about Syria now. So I wanted to make sure that you know this truth. You hear it from us Syrians because we are the closest to the cause. We know what has been going on. So that's why I wanted to share with you. So until next time, keep making an impact and happy holidays.
This has been a Now Media Networks feature presentation. All rights reserved.